Nick. It's the Back Porch Review. Welcome again. I should probably first start out by apologizing for the month-long hiatus. A lot's been going on over the last couple of months. The wife and I moved into a new house at the beginning of May, and so while this is the back porch that I did my last review on, we've really just been kind of settling in a lot. And over June, for about a week, my parents came down, brought some extra furniture. And so really that whole week was spent not only working, but, hanging out with them while they were here, and they were helping us get things kind of set up and cleaned. Things are falling around here. But what I thought I would do, now that a month has gone by, is do a wrap up of June. I'll probably do some reviews over the next week or so of some of the stuff I read in June, but I did want to show you guys some of the stuff I read, talk about some of the stuff I read. First off, I finished Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Loved it. Great. Brandon is easily one of my top 5 favorite authors, especially over the last few years. I have really gotten into his stuff. The book club that I lead is actually reading through Mistborn this month, so that'll actually be one that I hope to talk about soon. I've read it once and loved it, so I plan to definitely read it again. Some of the others, I actually came across this wonderful thing, and I may be totally new to this. I know now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like coming late to some of this newfangled technology stuff that the kids are doing these days. But a friend of mine showed me this service called TuneIn, and I have a premium account. It's a lot like Netflix or Spotify in some degree, and so they have a bunch of audiobooks. It's like $8 a month. It's great, and so I listened to quite a few audiobooks over the month of June while reading. Finishing up Elantris. I listened to that on audio, but, while reading some of the other stuff too. But to show you some of the other stuff I read, I did read a couple by C.S. Lewis. I read The Weight of Glory, which is great. It's a series of lectures and sermons that he did, but I'll be talking about this soon, but this is a great one. It was a short read. It's only about 200 pages, so really easy to blow through that one. Another one of C.S. Lewis's, one of my favorites that are not Narnia related, is the Screwtape Letters. If you've never read the Screwtape Letters and you're interested about C.S. Lewis, I would highly recommend checking out the Screwtape Letters. What it was is it was originally published in the Guardian newspaper during the Second World War as just a series of articles, but what it is, it's a series of articles of an older demon, or devil, as he refers to them, giving advice to a younger demon on how to properly harass his victim, his patient. And it's quirky, it's humorous, it's very well written, and if you have a Christian worldview at all, it's really interesting to kind of see that take on demonic kind of, not really possession, but, demonic influence and stuff on a person. And I'll talk about this one too, because it was phenomenal. And actually, if you don't have time to read it, and it's not very long to read, the longest chapter is about maybe 6 or 7 pages long, but if you don't have time to read it, I would highly recommend listening to it. It's a really cool audiobook to listen to, but the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis is great. Another one that I read, actually I listened to this one on audio as well. At the end of May, the wife and I went to MegaCon down in Orlando, and one of the guests that were there, she is a huge Felicia Day girl fan, and so we met Felicia Day. We had actually had this book for a long time, so we took it and got it signed, but we have Felicia Day's memoir, You're Never Weird on the Internet, almost. It's great. It tells her story, growing up, but not only that, but really kind of becoming the geek queen of the internet, and it's great. And to listen to it is great simply because obviously she reads it, and it's a wonderful memoir, and it's, again, like a lot of the other things that I've mentioned, I know it is a quick read, or a quick listen even, but it's fun to listen to her tell her story. And the great thing about obviously meeting her at a con is that you get to actually meet her, get to talk to her, but she tells a lot of these same things in some of the panels and stuff, but she talks about the guild, she talks about starting Geek and Sundry, she talks about all these things, being on Supernatural, being on Eureka. Yeah, and so I would highly recommend this, and Joss Whedon actually wrote the foreword, and so he reads his foreword too on the audiobook, and it's really good too. I'll be talking about this some too. And then I also read And I mentioned this one actually in my video on what I was planning to read for June, and I did actually read this one for June. I read The Archer's Tale by Bernard Cornwell. Bernard Cornwell also wrote the Sharpe's Rifle series. This is a great book about, it's the beginning of a trilogy called the Grail Quest Trilogy, and it's about an archer named Thomas of Hookton, which is a small village that he made up on the southern coast of England. He ends up as an archer in the 100 Years' War in about the mid-14th century. And it's a great book, and again, this is one I'll be reviewing as well. But anyway, just wanted to give you guys a quick update, let you know. Oh, and I also finished A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. That was our June book club book of the month. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. But again, that's one I can review. But, you know, actually, I don't want to give a whole lot of time to it because I really didn't care for it that much. It wasn't the worst book. It really wasn't. It's very character-driven, which if you're huge into character-driven books, I would highly recommend it. And that may have really been what the author was going for in that work. But I really feel like, as one, I love science fiction. Guys, I watch a lot of science fiction. I read a lot of science fiction. Now, I didn't this month, but I do read a lot of science fiction. And I really feel like A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet could have easily gone from a decent, okay book to a phenomenal book had she spent a few extra chapters actually developing a plot. Again, it's character-driven, it's not plot-driven, and there are works out there like that. But if she had developed a decent plot outside of the title of the book, which is literally the plot of the book, is they are on a very long journey to this little planet in the core of the galaxy that's surrounded by a whole bunch of angry, hostile aliens. And in the book itself, the crew of the Wayfarer, which if you've watched Firefly, a lot of people have compared this to some degree to Firefly because it's a crew of ragtag individuals that come together on the ship to take jobs as they come. That sounds a lot like Firefly, but in the book, the characters on the Wayfarer, the ship, they're a tunneling crew, and what they do is they punch holes in space from like say point A to point B to obviously help travel faster because they don't use FTL drives or faster than light drives because they're unstable. And as the crew of the Wayfarer, they get this job from the government to punch a hole from this inner core planet called Hedra and to the closest galactic commons, which is the government and the group of, think the Federation of Planets in Star Trek. So they've been hired to punch a hole from Hedra to the closest galactic commons planet, so that way they can obviously open trade relations and military relations and things like this with this group of aliens that have been really closed off from the rest of the universe community. And as the crew of the Wayfarer make their way, they stop by their various home planets. You learn more about each character. There's very decent character development in this book. But in regards to plot, again, there's really not a whole lot, and if you're a person like me that likes to have a good plot that drives the story, then you probably won't care for this book either. I'm not telling you not to read it, because that's obviously up to you. Read it, like it, don't like it, that's up to you. I probably won't continue with the series. There's one more already out called A Closed and Common Orbit, and there's a third one, from my understanding, that she's planning to publish by next year, 2018, I believe. But I don't plan to finish it. I will say that I love some of the characters. There are some phenomenal characters in this book. Ashby, the captain of the Wayfarer, is human. He does remind me in some regards to Mal from Firefly, only because he cares for his crew. He doesn't carry a gun, so he's not like Mal in that regard. He's very pacifist in that regard. But he does care for his crew, and he takes care of his crew. Rosemary, obviously, she's one of the major characters of the book. The book starts out from her perspective. She's a very sweet character. I loved her. Jinx is there's two characters in this book that really kind of make up the Kaylee character from Firefly, and Jinx is one of them, and he is a wonderful character. Loved him, loved his character, loved his development, loved who he was as a person. Out of 5 stars, I think on my Goodreads I gave it 3, because the characters are very well developed. I just wish there'd been more of a plot. But that's just me. But I did finish it. Book club, we talked about it. We had one in the group that really, really liked it. We had some that were just okay with it, like me, and then some that just couldn't stand it at all. But, you know, it is what it is. You read what you like to read. Life is too short to read books you don't want to read, so read what you want to read. But anyway, that really is kind of my June wrap-up. I know this is probably short for a wrap-up video. Like I said, I am reading Mistborn. I'm still working on Life Together just because I get wrapped up in fiction if I don't have to read Life Together. Or read, you know, like theology books and things like that. I sometimes get wrapped up in fiction, especially when I'm taking a break from school. My semester does start back up in August, and one of my classes, Life Together, is actually a required reading, so I may just wait, but I do plan to finish it anyway, because I only have like a chapter left. It's just, you know, trying to finish it. And I'm still reading Silence by Endo, and I plan to finish it too. It's just, again, it's been a crazy couple months moving in, so I hope you guys will continue to subscribe. Again, I apologize for taking a full month to get back to you. Hopefully we can keep this a more regular thing now that things are a little bit more settled. We're more settled into our house, and yeah, so please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll see you next time.